Hey all you fellow wedding photographers, this is Paul from Maymount Media, and today we're going to be talking about processing Fuji RAW files from a wedding. Alright guys, it's going to be a super brief video. I'm not going to waste too much of your time, but I do want to just run you through the decisions that I made when creating this preset. I'm going to give you the free preset down below. If you guys want to just take it and run, feel free. Link is in the description. If you want to figure out why I made these decisions and have me help you a little bit on how to adapt this preset to some of your other photos, let me know. We got a little grid view here with a few other different photos. If you want to see the different presets that go along with the different scenarios throughout my day, let me know. Maybe we could put a whole pack together for you guys. But today we're going to be talking about Faded Chrome 1, which is going to be the one that I used for this dance floor shot from a first dance. So let's jump right in. Here we have a copy that is completely untouched so far. You can see, I'll even click the reset button, show you that it's super raw right out of the camera. So first thing we're going to do with most, if not all, of my wedding photos is go ahead and add that classic chrome profile. You can see that changes it a ton. So Adobe Color, classic chrome, muy bueno. So that's going to be the first step on most of my photos. And you can see it's still a little warm and muddy. So we're going to go ahead and take my white balance slider and I'm going to bring that down into a lower Kelvin temp. Let's give it like 2500. Maybe a little cooler actually. Let's go into the, whoa, that's too blue. All right. We still want it to look warm because, you know, it's indoor incandescent lighting. So let's do the 2450 range, somewhere right around there. And then I actually want to pull just a touch more red out. Let's pull that down to, that's too green. Forgive me, there it is. All right, I like that. So that's -3, -2 actually. Ended up not doing much with that slider, but we'll revisit it later if we have to. And the next thing you can see is clearly underexposed. So let's punch that right up and bring it down. You still want it to look like a dark room because it is a dark dance floor room. So let's leave it in somewhere in there. Let's do the, yeah, +1.1. That looks good to me. I'm not going to touch this contrast slider. Sometimes I use that one, but it's very universal and I want to be a little more specific with my decisions on this one today. So let's jump down into the next set. So highlights. I'm going to go way down with my highlights. I almost always go way down with my highlights. This isn't a super high contrast scenario, so I'm actually not going to go as far as I sometimes do. Let's go to the -30-ish range and then shadows right up. So +20, that's too much actually. Let's go to the +20 range, somewhere in the +20 area should be great. That looks good to me. +20-ish on the whites as well, because I brought my highlights down. I want my true whites to still sort of have that pop and contrast. So let's actually pull that a little further into the high 20s. Somewhere around there looks good to me. Makes these white lights still look white, makes her dress still look like a white dress. And then also I want to bring my blacks down just a touch. Let's say -5 or so. All right, that looks good to me. So that's a very basic first start. The presence panel slider, I usually try to use a very light hand on these. I used to always go up with the clarity. Nowadays, I'm actually going to bring a lot of my clarity out of a lot of these photos. If you have a sharp photo, you're going to get away with bringing your clarity down, and it'll just give it a little more of that soft look that I really like for weddings at least. So yeah, let's do clarity -10, and then I don't know if it's necessary, but I'm just going to add a touch of dehaze. I know I know there's a little bit on my presets, so that's just generally to sort of counteract the clarity to a certain degree and just, you know, give a little bit of punch to this photo, but not much. Color, I don't want to go crazy with this. I usually go more with the vibrance than the saturation. I used to be the other way around, but I'm a big vibrance fan these days. Let's go into the +10 range, maybe a little more. That looks good to me. And then saturation, we're just going to add just a tiny little bit. Yeah, 13 and 3. Those look good. All right, we're going to move on to the tone curve now. Tone curve is a super touchy section, so the difference between this example photo and my actual preset is going to be mostly due to this section, because a little adjustment in your tone curve makes a big adjustment in your final image. So the first thing we're going to do with the tone curve is just pin 5 points. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then you already have a top and bottom one by default. So there's your 5 points. You can see I accidentally clicked and dragged that extra one, but we can fix that later. So basically what we're gonna do, first step, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a nice fade. The name of the preset is Faded Chrome because it's a classic chrome color code profile and because I will absolutely be adding a fade to it. So the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna clip my blacks way up. Let's give it a, my 9% or so. And then we're gonna bring my whites down into the 93 or so. I'm also gonna just really punch this curve a little bit, bring this, give it a nice S curve to it, bring my mids up just a very, very little bit. That looks really nice to me. So the other thing that I do is I also sort of like to nudge my regions a little bit just because I already know from years of experience that somewhere in this realm is this shape for these regions are almost every photo when I get to my tone curve regions. It's almost a tiny bit up on the highlights, quite a bit down on the lights, quite a bit up on the darks, and then just a touch down on the shadows. So let's go ahead and break this back into the tone curve look. So that's the look you're gonna be going for if you want this faded look that I'm creating. Let's turn off the whole tone curve. You can see the difference. So there is a really like crisp blacks and crisp whites, and we're just gonna fade it down a little bit, give it that nice soft look. So there we go. Next thing we're gonna do is dive into the HSL sliders. A lot of the magic happens in the HSL sliders. This particular preset is not very heavy-handed with my color adjustments, but I'll run you through the few changes that I made, and it's very common for me to be adjusting my yellows more than anything. So let's start right off the bat. I'm gonna bring my yellows into the more orange range. I want my wood to have a very natural woody look to it. So let's bring that down, and then I want my greens to be pretty much not present in this photo at all. I don't really need any greens. So that's actually a little too much. Let's bring my hue of my greens into the minus 20-ish range. Nope, I actually want my greens to be out of the yellow range. I want to bring them up into the blues instead. So let's go plus 20 or so, somewhere in that range. So that's all I'm gonna do with my hues. Don't wanna mess with them too much or the photo will totally start to fall apart. But the next thing I'm gonna do is just pull saturation. Yellows, again, are not a huge thing that I want in this photo. I'm gonna go pretty heavy with this, minus 65 or 4. That looks good to me. And then greens, again, don't need to be present in this photo. Somewhere in the minus 15 range, somewhere around there. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do is just punch up my yellows just a tiny bit. You know what? Because I pulled my yellows into the orange range, I'm gonna push the luminance on my orange instead. So let's go up just about plus 4 or 5, somewhere in there. Just a little bit of extra luminance to make these bright sections of the wood really pop. All right, so that's all I'm gonna do with this one. Like I said, I can get pretty heavy-handed with the HSL sliders sometimes, but not today. Let's go a little before and after. You can see how muddy this section is. It's quite subtle actually in this photo, but just right around here, and right around here, the brightest parts of the wood, you can see when you really lose some of that yellow muddiness when you turn on the changes we just made. So there it is one more time, off, a little muddy, and a lot cleaner look. So it's just got a much more natural look to it and a lot less muddiness. Split toning I'm not gonna touch today on this preset, but we will get into that another day on another preset, I'm sure. And then sharpening. This is a pretty hot topic, obviously, for Fuji RAW files. For those of you guys who shoot Fuji, you might already know that Fujifilm applies a lot of detail to the profile when it's in camera. So importing into Lightroom, pretty decent idea would actually be just turn off this panel altogether. Results would look really nice, but I've got a little setting that I like nowadays. So I leave it at 40. I bring my radius and my detail down into the 0.8 and 10 range, somewhere around there. 0.8, 0.7 is fine, it's not much different. And then the biggest thing that I do with my sharpening is I mask the heck out of it. And masking is basically just gonna decide which sections it's going to apply the sharpening to, how much detail and contrast needs to be present for the sharpening to be applied. So if you press the Option key on your keyboard and then slide this sucker up, you'll see it's at 0, it's applying sharpening to the whole photo, and as you slide this, it starts to really just outline some of your primary subject matter. So somewhere in the 90 range is where I usually have it, sometimes even higher, sometimes in like the 95 range if I just want to outline my subject with sharpening, and that's it. So we're gonna keep that at 90. Noise reduction somewhere in the 20 range. Don't adjust the detail and contrast this time. And color to plus 25. I'm actually gonna bring that to 30. Color noise, I find you can really push your color noise even into like the 50 range. It'll clean up the photo without adding too much sort of muddled softness. So I'm gonna keep it at 30 for this photo because there's not a ton of color noise in this image, but yeah, be aware your color noise, you can push that one a little further than your regular luminance noise reduction. The final thing I'm gonna do to this one is I'm gonna crop it and then add a post-crop vignette. So it's a really tall image. A lot of my verticals, I'm a big fan of the 4x5 look, and especially in this image, there is way too much floor. I do not need that much. So why don't we go ahead and add the locked in 4x5 ratio and then just pull this all the way to the top. You can see it's a little bit crooked. They're just about standing tall, but you can see the people on this side of the photo feel like they're falling out of the frame, and these people feel like they're just standing straight. So why don't we split the difference, bring this rotation around just a tiny bit. What I'm looking at here is this column up there, as well as the bride and groom. That's what matters to me the most. So I'm not gonna go truly vertical on this column, or else these people would look like they're falling over again, but that's gonna be the crop. And now for the finale, we will just try to make sure that the viewer is really focused in on only the bride and groom, doesn't get distracted in the corners or on our crowd. Let's bring our post-crop vignette to minus 20 or so. And I want that midpoint even closer, so let's bring that down as well. All right, so let's see how I did. See if this matches up. So this is the preset here. Oh, all right. And then this is the one I just did. So you can see ever so slight changes, not a huge difference between the two of them. Definitely my rotation on my crop was probably the biggest difference between the two, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna reset this back to the raw file, and then you can see these side by side. That's the after, this is before, so raw, click that preset button, add the crop, and go ahead and you end up with a nice looking final image right there. So if you go ahead and you add that faded chrome preset to your photos, you will need to make some slider adjustments. Don't think this is a one-click fix kind of game, but this is a nice place to start, and it's a preset that I apply to a lot of my photos when I'm importing after a wedding. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I'm gonna highlight these both, go into my compare view so you can see them right next to each other just like that. And if you guys found this one helpful and you want to see a few more of these, give me a shout down in the comments section, and we will. I'll show you some of my other favorite presets that I use for some of these videos. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this one. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy and happy, and we will see you next time.